think we're going to get going here. It's 2 after the hour. And I just wanted to say real quick here, my name's Andy McDonough, and I'm the education chair of the Washington Mortgage Bankers Association. Lisa, can you confirm that you can hear me okay?
I can.
I can, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to say a couple of quick words, then I'm going to turn it over to Lisa and her capable hands. And she can share her expertise along with a couple of other people that we want to be able to share their real life stories where a down payment assistance loan opportunity was life-changing to them and their sphere. So first of all, I just wanted to introduce Lisa. Lisa, she's the director of the Homeownership Division at the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. The Washington Mortgage Bankers Association is very proud to partner with you and your team and your organization to basically really cut it down to the simplest version. We want to educate people, create more awareness, and hopefully inspire more engagement. Right now, if you're a loan officer, you're struggling to get new business, generally speaking. And, this is actually a very innovative product that is helping people that may not have otherwise been able to buy a home. And so that's our purpose here, is to share those real life stories. And maybe as an originator or a realtor, you might want to consider providing down payment assistance loans to your future clients. So with that, after 25 years with the organization, Lisa, you know what you're talking about. We're so excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you to help introduce yourself and your panelist.
Oh, absolutely, Andy. Just thank you, and a big shout out to you. We're so appreciative of you hosting the series with the Housing Finance Commission, and appreciate all the good work you're doing. And if you happen to miss our previous session, Andy, I believe it's on the Washington Mortgage Bankers website still. Is that correct? I think you're shaking your head.
Actually, we just started our first quarterly one a quarter ago. And our game plan is to have this be a quarterly virtual lunch and learn. In fact, today we had a lot more registrants. As of yesterday, it was over 180 people that registered. So we're very proud of the fact that it's getting out there and it's getting seen and people are participating. And our goal is to do this every quarter. And we will house the recording for previous calls as a reference at the WMBA website. We have an education category, and all of our recordings will be listed there. So if there's somebody that really made an impact with you and you want to go find them, it'll all be available on the WMBA website.
Fantastic. Thank you. And so, as Andy mentioned, the commission does have a variety of down payment assistance programs, and typically our assistance ranges from 3 to 5% in down payment assistance, and it is offered at 0% interest, so there's no monthly payment to the home buyer typically. And as an entity of government, the commission's down payment assistance program can be that minimum investment and can really make the difference for many potential home buyers. So in this expensive market, saving for down payment is tough. It is very tough. And not everyone has a family member or the ability to do all that saving. And when your homes statewide are ranging in the first time home buyer market from $400,000 to $500,000 on up, you're looking at saving a minimum between $15,000 and $20,000, and that's just the benchmark. That's just the starting point. And so by using down payment assistance and by educating home buyers on it now, it does get home buyers into homes now and starts down that path of building generational wealth. So at our last session, we were able to feature some of our lenders and real estate professionals who actively incorporate down payment assistance in their tool belt on a regular basis. I really wanted to go a little bit deeper today, as Andy mentioned, and I couldn't think of anyone better to share this platform with than the wonderful Sherry Corney. Now, Sherry truly, as you will see, has a remarkable and inspirational story of her own personal journey to home ownership through down payment assistance. And then she went on to grow her real estate business using this powerful tool and by teaching commission-sponsored homebuyer education classes. And also to inspire you further, about the power of down payment assistance programs, I am beyond honored to have Ramon and Lynn here today. And you guys can all wave and say hello, but in a moment. But Ramon and Lynn successfully purchased a home, I believe in June of this year, with Sherry's assistance using down payment assistance. And they also have a really remarkable story. So I do want to start off with Sherry. And Sherry, again, I so appreciate you and you agreeing to join me here today. And I really am hoping that you can share just a little bit with us about your home buying journey and really how that inspired you and really kicked off your real estate career. So Sherry, I'll let you introduce where you're from and a little bit about you as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for inviting me to this. I feel like it's just such an honor to be here and to be able to share not only my family's journey, but Lynn and Ramon's journey as well. My name is Sherry Corney, and I'm a realtor with Windermere Abode in Lakewood, and I've been in real estate for about 8 years. And my journey in real estate was really inspired by my family's housing journey. And so I am a mother of 7, married mother of 7. And at the time that this all took place, I had 5 children with me, 2 that were grown up. And about 8 years ago, my husband and I decided that we were going to spread our wings and fly from Los Angeles to Washington and create a life for ourselves here. And things were going well. They were going well for a while. We had plenty of money in savings. My husband had gotten a job out here. And so we felt comfortable enough coming out here with our family based on the scenario and what we wanted to do. There were a couple things that we did not count on. Well, one, Airbnb was not a big thing. That was not something that was prominent at the time. And so that wasn't really an option to us. The other thing was that housing out here is really tight, and we had no idea. People warned us about all kinds of things about, moving from that state to this state, but they did not mention housing. And so when we first moved up here, we moved into an extended stay hotel, and we were paying about $1,200 a month or a week. I apologize, $1,200 a week. And my husband was working and I was looking for a job. About a week after we had made that move, my husband found out that he had actually been hired as an interim for an interim position. It wasn't a permanent position. They were not upfront with that. And so we had made this really big move from California to Washington State based on him having this job. But we didn't fret. There were a lot of jobs out here, and my husband had already applied at University of Washington. And in fact, the very next day, they had called him for an interview and began the process. And we thought we were going to be okay. Okay, he's got a job coming. And then I was starting to interview for jobs, and it just seemed like we were going to be okay. But nothing could be further from the truth. We eventually became homeless. We had no income coming into our home, into our household for almost 2 months straight, even though we had jobs coming. We could see that this was going to happen. We had a lot of our stuff in storage, and we were trying to do everything we could to keep our family from becoming homeless. We went to our storage. We were selling everything and anything that had value, all the gaming systems, TV, stereos, all of those things. And it was a Monday morning. My husband started his job at UW, and I had started a job as an administrative assistant in real estate. And we could see this train crash coming. We could see that we were no longer able to pay our housing bill. We needed my husband's first check to come, and it wasn't going to be coming for a little while. And the same thing with me. And so, I was calling all the different resources, and I was trying to find housing, temporary housing. Is there anyone that can help us? And, we called the 211. We went to a bunch of churches. I did a lot of different research online, and the most help we were given was a $10 gas card. And so one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do was take my children to a shelter. And lucky for us, there was room in the shelter, because it's not like that. This particular shelter was a family shelter, so they did allow spouses and their children to come, but not all the shelters are like that. And quite honestly, I feel that I was exposed to a lot of the gaps in the system in regards to helping homeless people by being a part of the system for very shortly. But we had packed up all of our stuff out of the hotel, all of our clothes. They were all in soft suitcases in the back of my husband's truck. And it was pouring rain, and it was like one of the worst rainstorms we had ever had out here. And it was just dark, and I just remember the thunder and the rain pounding, and I laid my kids on the mat of the shelter on the floor, and I cried myself to sleep. I felt like I was a failure. Excuse me. I felt like, how could we have made these decisions and then this happened? We thought we were so planned out, and we had made sure that we had enough money to do this big move, and it didn't work out the way that we wanted it to work out. And so lucky for me, though, I had a friend that is a very, very good friend, and she had tried to help the first day. And I was like, no, we're going to get some assistance. And honestly, what I told her is, we're waiting on God. We've been praying. We're waiting on God. And then I laid my kids down on that mat for a second night. And I was like, oh, this is too much. I can't do this. This is, how did we do this? How did this happen? But anyhow, the next day I called my friend and I said, we will accept your help. And what I thought that she was going to do, I thought she was going to give me a couple $100 just so I could go regular grocery shopping for my family, so we could eat things other than what the Salvation Army was providing to us. But she actually deposited $2,000 into my account. Sorry. And she told me to, get yourself back in that hotel and get yourself some more clothes, and you go to work. And so that's how we ended up getting out of the shelter, and we went back into the extended stay hotel. And then about a week later, my husband's brother uncle passed away. And then 10 days after that, my mother-in-law passed away. Now, my mother-in-law had cancer, and there were many conversations I had with her leading up to her death in regards to home ownership. And it was really, really important to her. She was an immigrant from Trinidad, and she was a single mom for quite some time. It was really, really important to her that my daughters knew that they were capable of becoming homeowners by themselves, that they could be a single woman in this world, have a good job, and become homeowners. And so I made this promise to her like 3 times, which is how I ended up, going into real estate as an admin assistant. The homelessness piece just like nailed the coffin shut, right? Like, Sherry, you've got to figure this out. You do not have stability for your family. And so that's kind of where my journey in real estate began. We continued to live in that extended stay hotel for 6 more months. Nobody at my brokerage knew. And I was just learning all things real estate. I was the very lowest level administrative assistant you could think of in that office. And I was just soaking it all up. How does this work? What does that mean? The day that I figured out escrow was a process and not necessarily a place, like, we had a celebration, because I was just learning all these different terms and things. And so in the office, someone had mentioned a little while later, we did get a rental. We did move into a rental in Renton, and that was amazing, but we had some struggles getting there as well. I believe that we came across some unfair housing. Just the way that the interview process for different rentals and things like that had worked out. We had gotten our rental in Renton, and we stayed there, and then they were thinking about selling their home, and we were like, oh my gosh, we really love this home. How can we buy it? Now, I had been working in real estate for a little while, so I felt like maybe the path isn't quite as hard as what we had thought. And someone had mentioned something, or somewhere in the office, that there was down payment assistance programs in Washington State, and that there were classes about it. So I started doing research, and I found the commission's website, and I found that there was a class being held in Renton, and my husband and I signed up for it. And it was the most encouraging class that we have ever taken. Like, we walked out of that class like, we could have done this years ago. We could have qualified for homeownership years ago. It was so eye-opening for us. And we applied for our mortgage, and it did take us a couple months to get ready. We had a couple things that we had to pay off. But as far as like baseline, we were pretty good. We ended up making an offer on my landlord's home, and they did not accept it. And then we ended up making an offer on a home in Des Moines using a down payment assistance program. And it was a short sale home, which is a whole nother thing in itself. But they were so far along in the short sale process that the timing worked for us. And so they accepted our offer. It was a full price offer on their short sale. we were receiving 5% in down payment assistance from the commission. We had qualified for a 3.5% down payment, and we used $1,000 earnest money. So we paid our $1,000 earnest money, we get under contract and all of that, but we had also requested sellers' closing costs. And at the end of the day, we had too much money in the pot, which is so crazy to me. And so when we closed in January, they gave us keys and a check. They gave us our earnest money back, and they gave us keys to the house. And so that has brought, I mean, the fact we've been there for 5 years, going on 6 years in January. And it is actually the longest place we've ever lived anywhere. As lifelong renters, we were always moving every year, year and a half. Sometimes I get itchy, like, we should be moving somewhere. We should be not in this house, but we've been there for almost 6 years. And the amount of stability that it has provided to my family is amazing. My kids have a place to come home to. When they visit from California and Arizona, there is a base home. There is a place where they can come and lay and rest. Or even like when my daughter comes home from Seattle, you know, she comes home to sleep. And I love that. I love that I have a safe place for her, that she can do that. It's too noisy at her house. Come to mom's house. Come and go to sleep. So that is my story. And then learning how easy the program worked and how easy it was to, apply for a mortgage. That actually encouraged me to work in the field and to help educate other people about the program and to inspire other people to use the program. And what I often tell people is, look, if you're not homeless, you're way further ahead than I was. So if I can do it, my family can do it from homelessness to homeowners in 2 years, I'm willing to bet you can do it in less.
Wow. So Sherry, when we were talking, I know you teach homebuyer education classes. So tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, I love the homebuyer education courses. I do find that there is a lot of misinformation out there in regards to the down payment assistance program and buying a home, generally speaking. And so I think that it does break down barriers, right? We're getting into the nitty-gritties about the programs. We're acknowledging things haven't always been perfect. And then we're kind of saying, hey, these are the solutions that we have available to us in this state. The classes are a little bit long, but you can divide them up into two. You can do 2.5-hour sessions. And I find when you do them that way, they're more successful. People participate more. And we used to do them in person, and that was a lot of fun. So we provide lunch and snacks and all the things. You do the games and all of that. But yeah, so that's been my experience. And I love it. I love the commission. I love the programs. It has changed my life, but not only my life, the lives of many of my clients. I look for people that need the program.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And Sherry, in terms of offers and getting offers accepted, what are some of the things that you do to really to help these home buyers in getting these offers to a yes?
Yeah, I used to be really, really timid about it because I used to kind of look at it like it was a welfare thing or something like that. But that is actually not the case. The thing is that, so what I do is I call the agent, right? You call the listing agent, you establish a relationship with them, you explain to them what your client's offer is. And when I'm speaking with my clients, I'm saying, okay, some agents are going to look at this as a negative thing. So we need to make sure that our offer package is brilliant. Everything else, we want it to be solid for the home seller. And so I think between those things, right, really communicating with the buyers that this can sometimes not be looked at as a great thing. I think it's a great thing, but not everybody looks at it that way. And in order for this offer to be accepted, we're going to have to give in some other capacity. I don't ever encourage my clients to waive their inspection. That's not it. We might tighten up the inspection. We might come with a little bit more earnest money. We're definitely talking to the listing agent about their closing date. And then Karina from the commission, she actually gave me this frequently asked questions sheet about the down payment assistance program for me to submit with listings. And that is fabulous. Like you establish the relationship with the listing agent and everything, and you say, actually, I have this fact sheet. I'll send it over to you. If you have any questions, let me know. And then, of course, everyone at the commission has always been so welcoming in regards to the listing agent's questions. So I always offer that as well. You know, they'll talk to you if you need to know, you know, how solid these funds are. They'll verify them with you. And so I do think it's a combination of a lot of, you know, you've got to make a good offer. You can't just, I don't think that you can just try to do what we did now in this market, you know, what we did almost 6 years ago. I don't think it's very feasible. So I think it's all in preparation, how you create the offer, your relationship with the other listing agent, and ensuring them that it's going to go, they're going to rock. This is and what I also tell them is that the buyers haven't done anything less than any other approval. They still had to have a good credit score. They still have to have their debt to income ratio where it needs to be. They still have to have a certain, you know, the criteria is still the same. But instead of getting the gift from their uncle who may, I don't know, may not come up with that at the time, we're getting the gift from someone else. And so I think sometimes when you break that down a little bit better, you know, like that, it's a little more welcoming.
So Sherry, it sounds like you really do build relationships with the other agents, and you do a lot of groundwork to make sure things go well for your clients. What do you do in terms of lenders? How do you approach the lenders that you work with?
Oh goodness. So there's a couple of different the main criteria is I do not work with lenders that do not participate in this program. It is one of the minimum requirements that I have. And the lenders that I work with, I want them to be as excited about this program as I am. And I want them to encourage my clients like I do and be excited for them. Like, this is still life-changing. It's so life-changing, it's, you know, changing the trajectory. So yes, so what I look for in a lender is participating in the program and then being available on weekends when all of the deals and things like that go down, and then being proficient in the program. I like for my clients to be given options, right? So there's some mortgage companies that have their own down payment assistance program. I want you to present both to my clients. I want my clients to feel like they have choices, which they do. And so I would say that that's probably the main thing. And treating my client, you know, with kindness. Like, it's a big thing that they've qualified for this loan and that we're able to move forward.
Sherry, thank you. And I know that when conversations with you do a lot of wonderful things, and you also have a very large social media presence. So I'm wondering if you could tell us just a little bit more about that and how that's benefited your business.
Oh, it's been great. So my Instagram, I have a little more than 2,500 followers, and that has taken time to do that. I have been very, very strategic about how I build my Instagram, and the way that I have my page set up is I'm an educator. I will educate you about everything, from buying to selling to fixing your credit so you can buy, the different programs that are available. And so I have gotten business. A third of my business comes from Instagram. And I believe that is because I'm an educator on Instagram. And my followers know that there's down payment assistance. They know. I have received questions in my DMs. Sometimes we talk about my stories. Sometimes when I post about my clients using it, my clients know that there is a way, and you don't have to come up with 20% down. You don't even have to come up with a 3% down. All you have to do is make less than $180,000, and there's a chance that we can help you out.
Great. I do have more questions for you, Sherry. I want to ask you one more, and I'll come back to you, but I want to shift the conversation in a moment. But how have you helped other agents in your office?
That's funny. I feel like the office here, Windermere Abode and Windermere Abode Lakewood, we are both champions for first-time home ownership and for the down payment assistance. Just yesterday, we had a guest speaker from the commission at our all-company meeting. But I have shared my story with my colleagues, and and I think that sharing that with them, as well as sharing my techniques of how I get the offers accepted, is very, very helpful. But more recently, I had a colleague reach out to me, and she was like, I am having the hardest time getting this DPA offer accepted. Is there anything that you can do that would help me? And so I'm going down the list and everything. And then I was like, oh, I have this fact sheet from Karina. Let me give you this fact sheet. And if you study the fact sheet, so now you have all this information, and then offer to send that to the listing agent, and let's see what goes from there. And she accepted the fact sheet, did all the things, sent it to the listing agent, and she got that offer accepted. So I think that is just a little bit of, lack of knowledge in regards to how the program works.
Gotcha. Thank you. Well, I'm Sherry, I am going to come back to you, but I do want to shift the conversation over to Ramon and Lynn. And I again want to express my appreciation for you being here today. But when I asked Sherry to share with me about some of her home buyers who have successfully used the program, she didn't hesitate. You are the first names that came out of her mouth. And Sherry basically lit up when we started talking about you, and like, can we invite them? Can we invite them here today? So I appreciate you taking time off of work to be here and to share with our audience today. And really, first off, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
So you closed in June, correct?
We did, yes.
Yeah. And do you mind really sharing with everyone a little bit about maybe why you wanted to buy a home and what your experience was like? And I'd love for you to share your story.
Sure. So I think what precipitated the home buying journey for us was really just having a family and needing to put down some roots and gain some independence. Up until then, we have quite the big family, so we'd be either staying with the in-laws, which brings its own challenges, or during the pandemic, we were living with my sister-in-law, so we could share the resources as necessary. But we found that the houses were getting small as my family was growing, and I think my wife, more than anything, was the driving force around convincing me that we needed to take the step forward, and so I was intimidated. I was jaded about the home buying process overall. I'm old enough to have worked during the subprime lending world as a personal banker. I used to originate loans at Bank of America, and we used to refer people all the time upstairs. That's where you need to go because that's where you can qualify. And I'm also old enough to experience like the ramifications of that. I've seen family members go through foreclosure, lose their homes, and it made me jaded. And so approaching this whole process again as a much older adult, but with the reality that my family needed it, was very intimidating. So my wife took the lead on that, and she just went ahead and signed us up for a first-time home buying seminar. I believe you just searched on Google for whatever it was.
Yes, I searched on Google and just signed up for them. We're doing this.
So you just picked a random class. Sorry to interrupt you. You just picked a random.
So I think actually, so someone on the I commute up to Seattle, and one of the ladies that I made friends with on the train, I believe she works for Washington State, and she had told me about like the down systems program, and referred me to the website, and so she's like, yeah, just take a look at it. And so I did, and found a class that was in our area, but at this time we were in the middle of the pandemic, so it was online, and yeah, we just signed us up for a Saturday all day. I mean, we didn't have fun, we were stuck at home, so we did the class.
And then I guess after the class, Lynn and I sat together, and we, like I said, I was very intimidated by the whole process still, and I was just trying to convince her why we weren't ready to do this. And she's much more stubborn than I am, so I was eventually convinced that we needed to take the necessary steps. So we hooked up with Josh from Fairway Lending.
So Josh was actually part of our home buyers class, and I had been, I was very engaged with his portion of the class, and I remembered his name, and so we looked him up and contacted him.
And so talking through our situation with Josh, he said, hey, you know, obviously you guys are prepared with questions. We had questions about where does our credit need to be. I had enough experience in the finance industry to understand what debt to income ratio was. But I had very bad debt to income ratio as it stood at the point in time. And then we came up with a plan, and gosh, it was probably that fall we started really implementing our plan. Josh would call us and email us probably every 2 to 3 months, just kind of checking in on us, and we fill them in where we're at. We're like, hey, we're at 60%, hey, we're at 40%, we're almost there to 30%. And then once we felt really comfortable with where our debt to income ratio was, and where our credit scores were, I said, I think we're ready, Josh. And Josh said, well, I think I'm ready for you. He said, send me all the paperwork. I have somebody perfect for you. And then he said, you need to work with Sherry. Okay. And so he set us up with a meeting with Sherry, and gosh, it really felt like we had known each other for a really long time, but it was a very, very short moment that we were able to create a relationship. And I think it's 100% due to her empathy and understanding of what our situation was, and her excitement to be our advocate. I don't know if I'm going to hold it as together as good as you, Sherry. So we went through the home buying process. So we looked at a few houses together with our kids. With Sherry, it was kind of a get to know you type of situation. What we liked, what we didn't like. All the while, Josh was in the background, kind of working through the finances, making sure all of our paperwork was tight. Like, we sent them pay stubs, we sent them everything, just so he had everything to be prepared to write the loan. And so looking at houses, we saw a few houses. My kids liked a couple, they questioned the other couple, and after that we decided to take a little bit of a break. We were just like, okay, let's just take our time through this process. We ended up visiting some family in Hawaii on a well-earned vacation, and before the flight, I believe, before the flight, Sherry texted my wife and said, hey, where are you? And we said, we're on our way to Hawaii. She's like, we need coming back. And we said, it was about a week. And she said, okay, well, I found this awesome opportunity. While we were in flight, I think she sent my wife pictures and videos of what the home looked like in its current condition. It was being newly renovated. It's like, I think this is a really good opportunity. We need to go look at it. We landed on Sunday. On Monday, we were looking at the property. Gosh, I think within that week, we had a purchase sale agreement. And then, gosh, then it was really my wife and I taking a back seat. Sherry really just took the reins and was just like, okay, this is the situation. This is where we're at. She was in communication with our lender, Josh. And Josh was like, okay, well, we can write this offer, but we have to wait for the appraisal. And then the appraisal came back, and for good news for us, it came down way lower. Bad news is that scares some sellers. And so Sherry was doing her magic. Again, like I said, I can't say enough about it. She was able to form that relationship with the seller. To the extent that she was giving him the information that he needed and that he wanted. And there was complete transparency through the whole thing, which I appreciated. Again, being jaded by the whole subprime lending situation, I was just like, I don't like people at that point. But like I said, Sherry was completely transparent with us, being our advocate. And she's like, I'm going to give him this information. And operate ethically and morally through this whole thing. And if it happens, and it's meant to happen. And if it doesn't happen, it'll happen some other time. And so we waited for probably what, 2-3 weeks after that, back and forth with the appraisal coming back with their inspections and everything like that. And then, I mean, then it was, hey, we got a call and she's like, congratulations, I think you guys are fairly close to being homeowners. We just need to sign the papers. And so we closed on the home, we got the keys, and we decided to surprise our kids. We decided not to tell them that we were looking at any additional homes, let alone this one. And we brought them into this home that we just purchased and closed on and got the keys hours earlier. We brought them in and we said, hey, what do you guys think of this home? And they're thinking they're on another home tour. Like, oh, this is nice, you know. Meanwhile, previous to this, Sherry and my wife are putting together signs that say like, welcome home, welcome to your room, situation for the kids on poster boards. And we hid them in the closet. And so the kids came downstairs where the rooms are and they're looking around at my son who's 7. He's like, oh, I want this to be my room. This is so cool. And I'm like, oh yeah, for real? It's great, man. Yeah, we'll see. And so he opens up the closet and he sees the posters and he's like, wait, what? My daughter goes, wait. She's like 18 at the time. She's like, you guys bought a house? And we're like, this is your house too. And oh man, I highly encourage you to visit Sherry's Instagram page because she put together this story on there that is absolutely precious. I watch it from time to time just to rehash those memories because it's absolutely beautiful and it was perfect for me and my family to lay down those roots and to be the way it was represented was absolutely perfect. It was spot on.
So you got to go to Hawaii, you got to purchase a house, and you kept this a complete secret from your kids.
Yes.
And I guarantee you Sherry's social media is going to be blowing up after this because we all want to see your kids' reaction.
Yeah.
But can you quickly tell us, what does home ownership mean to you?
I think for me it means just a whole lot of independence from top to bottom. For me, you know, being the stereotypical man of the household, I take the second role in our family as a husband to my wife. But we, you know, I'm able to have friends over, you know, without thinking about things. I'm able to have my family over and host my extended family, my brothers and sisters, her sister, you know, hosting our in-laws and then sending them off other places instead of having just the bunk with them, really, you know. I have a yard that I have to clean up and mow the lawn and stuff like that. It's really nice for me. My wife, I think she's always had this inner urge to interior design her own space for her family. And so I get to witness the excitement that she has with coming up with different ideas, different honeydew list projects for me to do in order to make our home beautiful and what she imagined it could be and it should be. Our kids, you know, having their own space, their own room. I imagined my kids' roles being reversed in terms of room cleanliness, but it's my youngest son who keeps his room meticulous and clean because it's his room. He respects his space. He wants you to respect his space, and it shows through the way he keeps his room. So I think independence for me is the primary thing that I can see throughout my family, that home ownership and the down payment assistance in specific has helped us achieve.
Wonderful. And could you have purchased a home without down payment assistance? And why did you use a down payment assistance program?
Yeah, I think we eventually could have. But if you think about the timeline here, we purchased in June. Rates were at about like shares maybe 7.5, something in that ballpark, right? So we would have still been saving money at this point, and it's now September, and rates are upwards of 8%. So that money that we're saving, we're almost cancels out based on the interest rate that with our purchasing power. And so I don't know if it would have happened this year if down payment assistance would have been wouldn't have been an option for us. But what down payment assistance did for us, in particular my family, was accelerated that home ownership to the extent it gave us, like you guys had talked about, like there were so many different options, right? There were so many different options on the table. There was the conventional way of doing things, obviously, but there were other options, like different down payment assistance programs that had different closing cost values that we were able to kind of fit into our budget, and it actually ended up helping us close because the seller wanted to change some of the terms of the purchase contract, and it was like, oh, he's not agreeing to closing costs anymore, so we had to adjust the program that we were on to kind of absorb some of those additional costs, and we were able to do that. And it was as simple as asking Josh, hey, we're looking at the options that you gave us. This one makes the most sense for us. What do you think? He's like, well, I think that's a great idea. You guys make the call. Once you make the call, I will press the green button and the docs will appear.
I think I still remember that afternoon. I was actually in the office. We were whiteboarding, okay, what are our options now that he wants of this? And, just asking Jerry, he doesn't know any of this background stuff, right? So it was, we were able to get into the house and really very smoothly still, it was not a lot of hiccups in the process. So.
Well, I am so excited for you, and I can hear the passion in your voice about your new home and Sherry's story, all of the passion she has about her personal journey. So I do have a question for both of you, and I'll start with Ramon and Lynn. But you're sitting here in a room with lending professionals and real estate professionals, and what is really the one word of advice you'd like them to know? What is that one piece that you'd like them to know?
I think Sherry kind of alluded to it earlier, that there's a certain stigma around assistance, right? And so if you need assistance, you're more than likely not able to ride this whole process through. And so I think humanizing that whole process and working with the people in front of you, like I said, I was intimidated. I did not want to do this process. I was just going to rent my whole entire life. I didn't want to go for it, but because I had people who are genuinely interested in me and my success and my home ownership, albeit I know what real estate professionals do for a living. They have to do this for a living, so it's not for free that they're doing this. But to have the heart behind what people do really mattered to me, and it matters to me going forward. That's why Carrie can tell you, I've seen her praises, I've seen Josh's praises, every opportunity I have, which is basically anytime somebody enters my home, I talk about like, hey, you need to be a homeowner. You need to do this. Trust me, it'll work.
Yeah, and it sounds like you just had that amazing support system around you, which I know is so important. And Sherry, for you, what advice would you like to give your colleagues here online with us today?
I was just thinking about this. I think that's something that would be really helpful is, a lot of lenders, they know like one of the things that you do is call the listing agent and you talk about how qualified your client is. And I think that it would probably be helpful if your client is DPA to go ahead and say that, it already has, our contracts have changed. So we do have to specify if somebody is using down payment assistance or not. It's going to be in the financing contingency. And so I think that it would be helpful if the lenders maybe ease the listing agents' worries about the program. Hey, I've used this program. Hey, these funds are solid, and really going to bat for the program itself, as opposed to only me. I'm not the lender. I'm going to fight for my clients as hard as I can. I've got this fact sheet, but if the lenders could also sing of the praises of the program, I think that that would be very, very helpful.
Got it. Thank you. And Sherry, really, I know you've helped Ramon and Lynn, and I know you've helped a lot of other families using down payment assistance. I mean, how have you seen lives transformed by owning a home?
Oh my goodness. Well, first, I just want to say it was such an honor to be a part of revealing to Lynn and Ramon's children that they had bought a home. It was the most beautiful moment that I have experienced in my career, because the children were so grateful and they were so appreciative of the sacrifices that mom and dad had made, and sometimes, people, sometimes they let me know what's going on in their life, sometimes they don't. I just try to empathize with what it is. And so I would say more than half of my clients are down payment assistance home buyers, and I have seen families with first generation home buyers. Oh gosh, I love that. I love to help people establish wealth, right, and create wealth. But a lot of times people are living with their families, trying to save up money so that way they can move into a home. It's affordable housing, it's stabilizing housing. I've even had like union workers use the program before because it was just a better option for them. And something that, Ramon and Lynn, they kind of spoke about this a little bit. So I want to give a little more context to their transaction and why they had to change the different product that they were using. When we had gone under contract, originally the seller, he's an investor, so he was renovating the home and he had representation, and he ended up dropping that representation when I brought in buyers. And so we were kind of, I'm handling the paperwork both ways because that's what needs to be done. And there was a price that he wanted. He wanted a particular price. And I kept running the comps and I'm like, where are you getting this number from? It's not going to, surely it's not going to praise for this because I don't see the comps. And every comp that he would send me would not be a like for like property. It would be something completely different. And so, my clients, Ramon and Lynn, they really liked the house and they were willing to pay if it would appraise. And that was the piece. That was, at the end of the day, that was one of the biggest protections that we used. We did not do additional down if it would not appraise. They were willing to pay the price that he wanted as long as it appraised. If it didn't appraise, all hands off. And they had to be willing to walk away, right? Like they had to be willing to walk away if it did not appraise. And the fact of the matter is it didn't appraise. It came in $60,000 less than what the investor wanted. But my clients were FHA, right? And so there's a little tic-tac-toe that's going on there because that appraisal is going to be stuck now. It's going to be there with the property. And, so he was going round and round in his mind of how he was going to swallow this pill of making $60,000 less and still paying me my commission. And I just knew, look, we just need to give him enough time to walk down the street and to weigh out all of his options and come back up. He's going to go with us. And so, and he did that. And it was not a fun time for him. It was hard for him. And I kind of felt bad, but at the same time, you're not my client. These are my clients. And at the end of the day, we want them to win. I want them to have the home. And so in his whole journey, he came back and he was supposed to be contributing $10,000 in closing costs. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I was like, I don't know. You said that you were going to do it. It's part of the contract. And that's what, we need. We need closing costs and all of that. And so I went back to Ramon and Lynn, and they actually came up with the idea. I said, here's the dilemma. He's going to go ahead and go with the lower amount. He's going to come down $60,000 in his asking price. He's going to honor that price. But he does not want to come out of pocket with $10,000. And I'll tell you what, I'm a negotiator. I'm not trying to give him much. I'm not trying to make him come back on his word very much. And so I felt like $5,000, I don't remember if we ended up getting $5,000 or $7,500, but the whole point is that Lynn and Ramon were able to go back to Josh and say, hey, remember those different options that you gave us in regards to the down payment assistance? There's one that is less down, and they worked out this thing. And then they came back to me and they said, Sherry, we're going to do this other program. And so it's going to cover some of our closing costs so we can go ahead and reduce that. And so that's how that all played out.
Wonderful.
And I just want to put context to that.
No, and Linda, Ramon, it sounds like you got a fabulous deal on your house, a great house, and I'm not seeing anything in the chat here, Andy, unless I'm missing it, which is okay. If there's any questions you have for any of our guests today, we'd love for you to ask them. But just so appreciative of the time that you're taking here with us today to talk about your experience. We certainly hope that the experiences of the folks here today have let you know that, you know, these programs and such change lives. They change lives. And so we're, you know, again, thank you. Ramon and Lynn, I hope to come to some of your barbecues.
For sure.
I'm
For
looking
sure.
forward to it. And Sherry, you know how much I appreciate you. Andy, I don't have the slide with the sponsors on it, and I know you have a word or two that you'd like to share.
Yeah, so we're committed. First of all, thank you guys. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I know it may not be easy to be as vulnerable as you have been in this type of setting, but I really want you to know I appreciate it. And I know everyone here appreciates you sharing your stories because that's where the real impact happens. And hopefully our goal here is to inspire others to create these kind of stories in the future. So thank you so much. It's awesome. And we really appreciate you sharing. There was one question that did ask if we were going to be able to see the recording or hear it later. And yes, we will see that recording as a friendly reminder. I do want to take a moment though. The WMBA Education Committee, we are committed to offering these type of, I'm sorry, what was that? To offer these type of programs on a quarterly basis, but we want to keep them complimentary because again, we're not here to make money off this. We want people to hear these stories and be inspired and engage differently. So with that said, we did have a couple of sponsors that help us facilitate these events. And number one, I'd like to thank New Res. They are a lender here. They used to be Caliber Home Loans. And we have a lot of great originators that do business here in Washington State and throughout the country. And similarly, BECU, I'd like to thank Boeing Employees Credit Union for seeing the opportunity here to support this great complimentary educational event. So I wanted to thank our two sponsors. We'll be putting together another event here in a quarter from now. Lisa and I will be coordinating. You know, we're looking at topics that are similar to this, but also we'd like to mix it up a little bit. So if anybody has any ideas that you'd like to see in this format for us to share, feel free to reach out to myself or Lisa. But that said, if you do have questions, we do have an opportunity to open it up for questions. I don't see anything else in the chat, but feel free to post in the chat. Otherwise, take yourself off of mute and raise your hand and we'll make sure that you get your questions asked. I would like to ask a question. Sherry, you know, roughly, and I apologize if you did say this, but do you know how many transactions, families that you have helped through using a down payment assistance offering?
I don't have the exact number. I just know it's more than half.
Yeah.
It's more than half, and just from different backgrounds, you know, different single moms sometimes, or just young families, or, I mean, honestly, I've helped a 55-year-old person with down payment assistance.
Yeah.
And that was quite lovely. But no, I don't have a number. I just kind of, you know, think of families. Sorry.
No, that's great. I also wanted to share, like, you know, again, we have a varying audience here. A lot of people are in real estate and loan origination. So I just wanted to share personally, you know, by going through our first call, my wife, Danny McDonough, and I both became certified to originate down payment assistance loans because we're moved, and you know, the business is down right now. If you're not aware of that, or you're not experiencing that, good for you. But you know, we are at about 75% less volume than we were at the peak of the Q3 and Q2 of 2021. About half of our business was refinance and the other half was purchase. So you eliminate all refinances and then you cut all purchases in half. We're left with 25% of what we were doing as far as overall business. And our workforces have been impacted. We've also lost about 50% of our workforce. And so, you know, these are the type of products that if you haven't had to, right, I'm using air quotes there, had to pursue other opportunities and cast a wider net. I can't imagine a better and more satisfying way to expand your business and grow your business than helping people like you guys get into homes, because a lot of loan officers, they got into the business and they didn't have to worry about getting creative and getting innovative because they did refinances. And honestly, it's old. It gets old. It's cookie cutter. It's monotonous. Think about the impact you can have with people. That is why we're in this business. We have the opportunity to help people realize that dream of home ownership. And as we just heard, it's life-changing. And I, again, want to thank you guys for sharing your stories.
Yeah, and I think, Andy, just to piggyback on what you're saying, I hope that we've inspired you to maybe go through your pipeline of looking at families you've been talking to, and is there someone you haven't been able to get into home ownership that needs just that little extra bump to go over some of the hurdles, and instead of waiting for interest rates to go up further and homes to become more expensive, you can help them now. So definitely an option, and we do have some exciting ideas, Andy, coming up for our next ventures. So I look forward to collaborating with you on that. But in the meantime, Sherry, Ramon, Lynn, you know, I have nothing but hearts and claps for you and all that you've done and all that you've accomplished. So just a big thank you.
Thank you.
And you want to wrap it up, Andy?
Sure. Yeah, I just want to throw it out there one last time. If there's any questions, feel free to chime in. You're welcome to take yourself off of mute. I do have a comment here. You know, we appreciate Sherry and Amando's sharing their stories. Is there also another avenue for learning more about the social media aspect of getting this information out? You know, actually, it's a great question, because Lisa, you know, I don't even have a TikTok account, but you guys do at the commission. So you guys are meeting your clients where they are, and maybe you can talk about that a little bit. And Sherry, I'd love to hear what you're doing. I heard the Instagram, see what else you guys are doing.
So yeah, we would love, we do have Instagram and TikTok, and we are all over social media. So feel free to look at our account. And I know as much as Andy about this, but feel free to share the content. We're always putting out new content. I know Sherry would welcome you going to her site to look at some of the especially seeing how the excitement from Ramon, and I'm going to go right after to see Ramon and Lynn's kids. I want to see what happened, but I Sherry, you might have some other things to say because you're more well vested than I am.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to say that it's not every day that we get to share our stories. And so I just appreciate the platform. Yeah, so Instagram is a love-hate relationship. I have a love-hate relationship with it because it's very social and you need to be consistent in order to do it. But I find that a really good mixture of business and family stuff is what I use. People like to see my family. They like to see my kids. They like to hear my story. I tell my story, my personal story, about once a quarter. And then, you know, I try to post about 5 times a week. I took a month off for summer, you know, so if you go right now, you'll see, oh, she's just starting to get back up. But it is my main platform, and I will also put Ramon and Lynn's video up in my stories to make it easy for people to find. It is very, it's a beautiful story. It just really is, and somehow I was able to capture it in less than a minute. But, you know, I've taken a lot of different classes in social media. I've taken a lot of different classes just on internet advertising and things like that. And so I think that that was probably one of the best investments that I have made. And what I've learned during all of that is I like my platform to be educational. I like people to be able to come to my platform and to see the value that I have to offer them. And so I provide offer by providing all the tips and hints and all of the less known things that are out there. I even give tenant information, like landlord tenant information, because those people are potentially my clients as well, right? Like down the road. So for me, it's a mixture of business and family. And if you want to follow, I'll follow you back. My Instagram handle is your homegirl Sherry.
Your homegirl Sherry. All right. Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to ask. There you are. Awesome. I'm following you.
All
Very
right.
good.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Lisa, I would just say, once again, to support what you mentioned, follow the commission on social media. You'll get a lot of information from there. You'll hear more stories. So I would go ahead and after this call, just sign up and follow them. Once again, I would like to thank New Res and BECU for sponsoring today's event. And also, again, thank you to the commission and Lisa and your team. You guys are great partners. We love this, and we want to continue to build off of this momentum we had. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today. It means you care about what's happening in today's world and the challenges that we're overcoming in people realizing that dream to home ownership. We really appreciate you showing up. Thank you, guys. Ramon and family, we're so grateful that you shared your story. And much love to you and appreciation going forward. Likewise, Sherry.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.